Good morning everyone. Today I will be talking about GVERSE Connect plugin, which lets you exchange data between GeoGraphix and Petrel. The plugin, it enables wells, seismic horizons, seismic faults, 2D seismic and surfaces data to come together into an integrated interpretation environment. Using the plugin, data can be transferred to an empty project or to an existing project that user would like to append or update. Data transfer for wells, faults, horizons and surfaces can be done in either direction, whereas the 2D seismic data can be transferred only from Petrel to GeoGraphix. We are also working on that part of the functionality, and hopefully in the upcoming release of GVERSE Connect, 2D seismic data will be transferable from GeoGraphix to Petrel as well. So now coming back to the demonstration part of the things, as you can see on your screens, I have my projects activated in both applications. Both of these projects have the same coordinate reference system. The GVERSE Connect plugin, it actually resides inside Petrel. If you go to the plugins drop-down, you can see the GVERSE Connect icon. If you double-click it, you can see the main GVERSE Connect interface. For the first part of the demonstration, I will be transferring data from GeoGraphix to Petrel, and for that I'm going to press the From GeoGraphix button. Once I do that, you can see the source field. It's been populated with the active GeoGraphix project, and then the destination field is been populated with the active project in Petrel. Now going to the data source tab, you can see a selection column here. This selection column, it contains all the data that is available for the transfer. At the very top, you can see the wells node with the total number of well count in front of it. This count, though it looks not that big, but considering some of our users, they work on huge data sets and with a large number of wells in it, sometimes an order of 500,000, maybe 600,000, even more. So to help them limit their data to a specific number based on any filter criteria, we have added well-based filters to the GVERSE Connect interface, and these filters are available inside this drop-down. These are the same filters that we use in GeoGraphix in the form of query builder filters, or the quick filters from well-base, or the common filters, or the special filters. You can select any of these to limit the number of wells, and that will meet the specified filter criteria. For instance, if I select a filter, let's say wells with velocity service, you see here, once I select it, my wells, the count has been just reduced to 4. My wells, they are being displayed inside the selection column based on unique well IDs. If I want to, I can change this identification criteria to well name by going to the Preferences tab, and against the well identification field I can select the well name option, and upon my return to the data source tab, I can see that my wells, they are now being displayed based on their well names. Just next to the selection column, I can see another column with the title Entity Selection. At the very top, again I can see wells, and all the available entities against the wells that are transferable are available inside this column, and by default they all are enabled. I can select or unselect any of these based on my choice, but for now I'm going to stick with all the default settings. The well headers, the deviation surveys, velocity surveys, and the log curves, upon initiation of the transfer process, they are added to the input pane of the Petrel main root projects tree in a folder with the name of wells, whereas the formation tops and well faults, upon initiation of the transfer process, they are added again inside the input pane in a folder with the name of well tops. If I want to, I can change the name of the well tops folder to any other name of my own wish by going to the Preferences tab, and if I scroll down, I can see this option in here, well tops name. I can change this default well tops name to any other. For example, in this case, I'm going to change this well tops name to GGX tops. So then once I initiate the transfer process, my well tops and my well faults will be written to the GGX top folder, which will be placed inside the input pane. I'm going to return to the data source tab, and returning back to the selection column, you can see if I scroll downwards, I can see a seismic node. This seismic node, it contains all the seismic horizons and the seismic faults from my active source project. Scrolling further downwards, I can see the surfaces node. This surfaces node, It contains all the isometric gridded surfaces from my GeoGraphix project, and these surfaces are mainly in ZMAP grid formats or the ASCII XYZ grid formats. So one thing more I would like to mention before I move any further is that the seismic data and surfaces from the active source project in GeoGraphix will only display inside the selection column if they have been exported and saved as ASCII files in a folder of my active source project. For example, if you can see in here, that's my active source project, and if I can see in here, I have the GVERSE Connect folder in here, over here as well. If I open this folder, I can see all my faults, all my seismic horizons, and all my surfaces exported here as ASCII files. What I need to do before the commencement of the transfer process, I need to insert the path of this folder inside the Preferences tab against the import field inside GVERSE Connect plugin. As you can see in here, the path has been specified, or it has been picked automatically in here. If I have some other location other than the GVERSE Connect folder where I have placed my files, then I need to go to this button and I need to select that particular path, and once I'm done with that, that path will be populated here, and my plugin will automatically fetch data related to seismic horizons, seismic faults, and surfaces from that particular location. And the seismic horizons and the seismic faults, before I transfer them to Petrel, I need to make sure that they are also mapped to a seismic survey that is active in Petrel. Other than that, I cannot transfer them. So for that, I need to go to the Preferences tab, and I need to look for the active seismic option, which resides here. If I press this drop down, I can see all the surveys that are available in Petrel. I need to select appropriate survey to whom I wish to map my seismic horizons and faults. In this case, I want to map them with survey number 1, and I'm going to select this. So now once the transfer process is initiated, my horizon and faults will be mapped to this particular survey. Lastly, my seismic horizons, seismic faults, and my surfaces, they are also written in a folder that resides inside the input pane, and that folder can be named very easily by going to the Preferences tab, and you can see an option of interpretation folder in here. By default, the option is set to GeoGraphix. If you want to, you can change its name to any other. What I'm going to do is I'm going to punch in the word demo in front of GeoGraphix. So once the transfer process is complete, my surfaces, my horizons, and my faults will be added to this GeoGraphix-demo folder, which will be residing inside the input pane. So once I am done with all my settings, what I can do is I can, since I made a number of changes inside my Preferences tab, I can go to this option and I can set them as default, so that I can, once I relaunch my plugin for some other activity later on in the day, I need not to punch them again. So I can set them as default, or maybe I can export them as XML file on disk, and later on I can import them for my use. For now, I'm going to stay with the changes that I've made. So now since I'm done with all the changes, I'm going to initiate the transfer process. I'm going to press this transfer button at the very bottom. As soon as I press the transfer button, you can see the transfer process initiates, and the progress bar, it gives me the information about the ongoing progress. I have been switched from data source tab, or from the Preferences tab, to the Logs tab automatically. This window, it's basically showing me the progress, all the details related to the transfer process, and in a very short time all the data will be transferred, and I'll be given a summary of operations within this small window. As you can see in here, all the data has been transferred. I can see the message at the very base. It says selected data transferred successfully. I can scroll a bit upwards just to see summary of operations. It says transferred successfully the headers, the deviation survey, the velocity survey, and all the data types that I selected for the transfer. They have been transferred to my destination Petrel project. This plugin, it actually maintains a record of all the transfer jobs, all the error logs, and all the usage logs as it encounters for everyday transfer activities. As you can see in here, we've already been switched to the logs tab. If I want to, I can scroll upwards to see what kind of transfer activity has gone by, or I can switch to the usage tab. I can scroll down and I can see information related to the user as well. The username is available in here, the user who initiated the transfer process, along with the date, time, the source project name, the destination project name, and along with that all the information related to the entities that have been transferred. So this information is also available on the disk, and user can also open those files that are stored on disk containing all those logs. So since I'm done with the transfer job from GeoGraphix to Petrel, I'm going to close the connect interface, and I'm going to maximize Petrel, and I'm going to see the kind of data that has been transferred. As you can see in here, I have a couple of folders which were previously not available. These are the folders that have been created during the transfer process. These wells folder, it contains all my wells, followed by the GGX top folders. It contains all the well tops and the well faults related information from my GeoGraphix project. I can open the well data browser window in Petrel, and I can select a well in here and press this button to view all the well header related information. To QC this, I can simply open the same well in Wellbase in GeoGraphix, and I can match the data that has been transferred. I can switch to the logs tab, and I can see all the log curves that have been transferred. If I select this from here, I can select any well log curve from here, and I can match the signatures from the well that has been displayed in Wellbase or in Prism. I can also switch to the tops tab. Here you can see all the well formation tops and the well fault cuts related information. I can switch to the check shots. If I press this, all the check shot related information against this well has been added to Petrel. And finally, the deviations tab. All my deviation survey related information is also part of my Petrel project now. So now I'm going to open map view, and I'm going to add my surfaces to it, and for that I need to go to the interpretation folder whose name was selected as GeoGraphix-demo. As you can see in here, it contains all the seismic horizons, seismic faults, and the surfaces. And now I'm going to add a surface, an isomap surface, which I sent earlier to this map view. You can see in here, it's now part of the map view. And similarly, I'm going to open a 3D window, and I'm going to add seismic survey to that window. And this is the same survey to which I map my horizons and faults while transferring data from GeoGraphix to Petrel. I'm just going to enable the access of this survey. I'm going to increase the scale, the vertical scale a bit, and I'm going to add my horizon and my fault data to this particular scene. This was the fault that I sent, so I've been able to view them in the 3D view in Petrel. And now I'm going to add my wells to the scene as well, but currently my scene is set in any domain. I'm going to switch that to the two-way time domain, and now I'm going to add a couple of wells to the scene. At present I cannot see those wells since my scene has been set to the time domain. I need to activate the time depth curve in my wells. So for that I'm going to activate the synthetics. Once I do that, you can see the well. I can see it now display inside my scene. I'm going to repeat this process for the second well as well by going to the settings tab and going to the time tab. I'm going to activate activate my synthetics for this well as well, and you can see my wells are now part of the 3D scene. So now I'm going to display the formation tops along the well bore. For instance, for this particular well, I'm going to add the formation tops, but before that I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm going to make sure that my tops are viewable. Here I'm going to enable this, and I'm going to select the tops. And you can see the tops are being displayed along the bore. The font is a bit small. For that I need to go to the settings, and I can increase that as well in here. So you can see my tops now they are being displayed along the bore as well. So this was all about the data transfer from GeoGraphix to Petrel. So now I'll be moving to the second part of my demonstration, which is transferring the data from Petrel to GeoGraphix. For that, I'll be first switching my my project in GeoGraphix. As you can see in here, I have an empty project already been created. I'm going to switch to that. I'm activating it. It's been activated, and now I'm going to relaunch the GVERSE Connect plugin again from the plugins drop down in Petrel. Do that, and the plugin main interface, it pops up. Since we're going to be transferring data from Petrel to GeoGraphix, I'm going to press the to GeoGraphix button. Once I do that, you can see the source field. It shows me the name of my source project, which is in this case is my Petrel project. The destination field, it shows me the name of my destination GeoGraphix project. Now coming to the data source tab, again we have the selection column. This selection column, it shows me all the data which is available for the transfer. At the very top we have the wells node, which shows all the available wells in the active source project, followed up by the seismic node, which shows all the seismic horizons, seismic faults, followed up by a couple of survey nodes. And these survey nodes, these basically contains the 2D seismic lines that are available in my source project. These are the line names along with their vintages. Moving further downwards, I have another survey with more 2D lines and their vintages being displayed inside the selection column. Moving downwards, I can see the surfaces node with all the surfaces that are available in my source project. And just next to the selection column, I can see entity selection column, which contains all the available entities for the transfer job. And before I initiate the transfer process, I would like to go to the Preferences tab, and in the Preferences tab you can see the export path. This export path basically will be the location where all my horizons, my faults, my 2D seismic lines and my surfaces will be written to. As you can see in here, that's my project in GeoGraphix, and it contains the GVERSE Connect folder. Currently it's empty, so once I initiated the GVERSE Connect interface, this particular folder was created automatically at the very back end. And now once I initiate the transfer process, my horizon, fault, surfaces and 2D seismic lines will be written to this particular folder. If I want to, I can change the location to some other folder of my own choice, and I can specify that location by going to this this dialog, and I can specify it, and Connect will automatically write my files to that particular folder. And moving further downward inside the Preferences tab, I can see the interpretation option. This is basically for the 2D seismic lines. If I want them to be part of any interpretation, I can press this drop down. I can see a couple of interpretations in here, with the one set by default with the name of demo 1. If I move, if I go to the GVERSE GeoPhysics, which I'm going to do now, you can see in here I have interpretation already been made with the name of demo 1. It contains a 3D seismic survey in it, and if I go to the interpretation manager dialog, you can see, wait a minute, where's the dialog? Here's the dialog. If I go to this dialog, you can see that the 3D seismic survey already been loaded to it. If I switch to the 2D seismic tab, it's empty. It contains no 2D data in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to target my 2D seismic data inside this interpretation. Now I'm going to open the well base information manager. If I open it, you can see currently it contains none of the wells, and I'm going to be targeting this particular project for the transfer of my wells as well. So I'm going to minimize this as well, and before I initiate my data transfer, I'm going to select the seismic survey that I wish to transfer. For this current transfer activity, I'm going to unselect this particular survey, whereas I'm going to keep the survey number 2 for my current transfer activity. So I'm all set for the transfer process to begin. I'm going to press the transfer button, and once I press it, you can see the transfer process, it's been initiated, and the progress bar, it shows me the information related to the ongoing progress activity. Everything is being available inside the log tab. One thing I would like to mention in here is, as soon as I have initiated the transfer process, the 2D seismic lines from my active project in Petrel, they will be converted to the GeoGraphix, GVERSE GeoPhysics internal 2DS format on the fly, and they will be automatically added to the interpretation that I shown you guys earlier. And if the interpretation for some reason is not open, the 2D seismic lines will be written to the disk, and whenever I'm going to open the interpretation, my 2D seismic lines are going to be written to that particular interpretation. So you can see in here all my data has been transferred successfully. You can see all the well related data has been transferred successfully, followed up by the horizons, the faults, the 2D seismic lines, and the surfaces. As I mentioned earlier, all this data has been written to the disk, with the exception of the well data. The well data, all the entities, the headers, the deviation survey, the velocity surveys, the formation tops, the well faults, and the log curves, they are directly added to the GeoGraphix database, which I'll show you just now in a moment. I'm going to launch the well base application, and I'm going to press the information manager button. You can see in here now I have all the four wells available inside well base, and I can see if I press this vector button, I can see all the log curve data available. Along with that, I have all the header information available. If I move on to the formation top tab, I can see all the formation tops, and the fault cuts data is also available. The deviation surveys and the check shot data is also part of the well base database now. I can switch to any other well, and I can see the relevant log curves data for any particular curve, and I can move to the formation tops. I can see in here all the information that's now part of my GeoGraphix project. Now I'm going to switch to the GVERSE GeoPhysics to see whether my 2D lines are added to it. You can see in here my 2D seismic lines are not part of the active map view. If I go to the interpretation manager, I can switch to the 2D seismic tab. I can see the survey 2 available inside it, and I can see the seismic lines available in here. If I select any particular version, I can open its relevant information. You can see the number of traces, the number of samples, the first trace, the start time, the survey origins, the units of the distance, the sample format, the sampling interval, and the projection information. It's all available now inside my 2D interpretation manager. So if I close this, I can also see that the GVERSE Connect folder, it's being filled up with these 4 folders as well. You can see if I move to the horizon folder, it contains the horizons that were added or written to this particular location from the Petrel source project. If I open the faults tab, you can see the faults file in here as well. And if you open the 2D seismic lines, it contains the survey node. If I go further deep, I can see all the seismic lines with the format 2DS. That's the internal GVERSE format. And the surfaces, obviously, they have been written to the surfaces folder. So in order to view the surfaces data in GeoGraphix, these surfaces needs to be imported in GeoAtlas. The ZMap format files need to be imported using the ZMap import features, whereas the ASCII XYZ files needs to be imported using the ASCII import features in GeoAtlas. And similarly, the horizons and the faults that have been transferred or written to the disk, they need to be imported inside GVERSE GeoPhysics using the respective import modules. And once that is done, the QC of the data can be made by comparing them between their counterparts inside the Petrel project. So I guess that would be pretty much it from my side, and I would like to thank you all for your time, and I would like to hear your comments and your questions. And thank you all again, and thank you very much.